Hi, everyone. This is Heather Jackson from Oregon Buy Prep and Ship, and I'm so lucky to be here today with Kim Coghlan, who is a multi-million dollar Amazon seller, and get this, guys, she has 13 children. Seriously.
The last count.
It's last count. And how many grandchildren?
We have 5 grandchildren and 1 more on the way.
Oh my goodness. And look at you. You're so beautiful and young.
Oh, thank you.
So I think it's fair to say that if this is something that Kim and her husband Perry could achieve, they're a great team, and they have a good online presence with helping people as well. Like my last guest, Gay Lisby, they're really into helping and giving back to the community. I think if they could achieve it with all the things that they probably have on their personal plate, that this is something that this conversation will hopefully inspire you to do this as well. So, Kim, could you tell us a little bit about how you guys got started? I know you went way, way back to eBay back in the day.
We did.
Back when it was kind of a new thing, wasn't it?
Back when you had to write your own HTML code in your listings. Yeah. Around the turn of the century, I think. Around 2000 when we started our account.
We can say that. We could say around the turn of the century.
Yes. We were doing RA before I had a name.
Wow.
So we started buying and selling a long, long time ago, and we've had a bunch of little businesses through the years. Mm-hmm. But a friend of ours told us to check out FBA 5 years ago, and she was doing really well with it and knew that it was something we would be interested in. So we looked into it, and it just kind of took off for us. It clicked. It solved all the problems that we had run into with our small businesses.
Right.
At the time, Perry was...
FBA, that's interesting. Well, fairly new.
Yeah, we haven't been in it for very long. At the time, my husband was working a job that took him out of state for 5 or 6 days a week. So I started it, got it off and running with his cheerleading because he really did not want to be gone all the time.
Yeah.
And he helped me on the weekends whenever he could. And together we built it up to where he could quit his job and stay home. And the rest is history.
And that right there is what I think will inspire so many people, because even if your partner, your husband's not gone all the time, they might be working all the time, they might be at a job that they're not happy at. And I think women are actually quite inventive, or you know, you're home. I don't know how you found the time, but if you are home, I'm not saying everyone's home, but you know, we want to get out there and find something that's going to help the family. And we talked about this with Gay as well, that it's kind of a natural, when she was able to pay off her mortgage, it's this natural feeling that I think women have to be able to contribute financially to the family home as well.
Yeah, I loved the freedom and flexibility of it because I'd always been a homemaker. I wasn't, with all our kids, it didn't make sense for me to go out and get a career even if I had wanted to. But this was something that I could do from home. The kids could help if they were willing. It's kind of been an off and on. We're gonna speak at a conference soon about working with your family. It was really fit our family well.
Yes, that's fantastic. So going back to how you got started, did you start out, I mean, I imagine when you have a lot of kids that you probably didn't have a big nest egg, or you didn't have a bunch of money to put into it. So how did you step by step start building your capital to get to the point where you are a multi-million dollar seller? How does that happen? I know it's really, baby steps, but yeah.
Yeah, it's really funny the way it worked together for us. I know everybody's circumstances are different, but we had given up credit cards years before. We hadn't used them for a long time. And then because of Perry's traveling job, his employer forced him to float travel expenses for, I think, 60 days at a time. It was a big sum. And so we had to take out credit cards just to float it. And you know, we're paying him off every month, never paying interest. But because he's floating these large sums for his employer, we ended up getting a pretty big limit on the credit cards.
Yep.
Which is not always the best way to start a business, but it gave us a little bit of capital to invest as long as we bought items that we knew were going to turn before the bill came due.
Yes.
And so we were able to roll that, rolling all the profits back in. We lived off his salary while we built up the business. And we did have a little bit of a nest egg, not a big one at all.
Yeah.
we had like an emergency fund, basically. We put everything into it, and we kind of took some risks because we grew really fast. We were highly motivated to get him home.
Wow.
His job was very tenuous, and it was really hard on our family. So we pushed. We used all the credit cards, the limits on them, and paid them off every month by God's grace.
Yes.
We had 1 month in 5 years. We had one card that we couldn't pay the full balance off, and paid interest that month.
Yeah.
And we also used Amazon loans. We took
Right.
2 Amazon loans over the course of the last several years.
And that's something that's available at Amazon's discretion. And usually once you show some traction, there is ways to get some funding through Amazon itself, because they like to see you doing a lot.
It's very high interest. It is definitely not the best way to go, but it's convenient. They make it super easy to get the money in the first place.
Press the button.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be worthwhile at Q4 when things are flipping really fast. Q4 means quarter 4, which is that Christmas period between October and December, when everybody sees their sales just take off.
Just be careful, because both of our loans were in preparation for Q4, and we didn't plan ahead, but our last payment was due on tax day.
Oh, right. Okay.
That was hard. Because after you spend all the money, your business is up and running, you've been sourcing at a much higher level, you're paying back those payments, and the last couple of payments are going to hurt much worse than the first couple. So that's when you really feel the pinch, because you have to downsize your business. You've been artificially inflating it, and you're not going to lose all your growth, but you have to give back some of the growth.
Yes.
And doing it at tax time is extra painful.
And if you start now and you have that incredible growth towards December, and then suddenly, is that what you're talking about? And then suddenly, in like when all the bills are due in January, February, March, when you're not making that much money. Yeah. So my sister and I started doing Amazon from Australia a few years ago, and we did the same thing. We were flipping a credit card every month, but we were always able to pay it off, and that's
so important.
Yeah, we paid it off. So I think the big tip there is, if you do something like this, to reinvest your profits, but also to have a backup income, so you're not. To do that and then try and live off your Amazon income, I think would be too much to start with, wouldn't you say?
Right. Oh, we've seen sellers fail for that very reason. Yes.
Okay. So that's your first big tip, is if you do use any sort of credit or loan, to make sure you've got a backup so you can pay that monthly loan or monthly credit card in full each month. And we always found we could do that easily.
Yeah, those payments they put a stress on your business, and taking money out to live on it puts a stress on your business. And you don't want both of those stresses right up front when you're working on getting it off the ground.
Yeah. So even if you're not happy with a job, or both of or your husband's income or your income, and he's doing this full time, it's really important to just see that end goal. You guys obviously said you were super motivated and you had this goal in mind. And how long, once you started, was he able to quit his job or whatever he did, resign, walk away?
It was about 8 months. He gave, it's funny. I was not ready. I didn't think we had enough of a history behind us, but he was so ready to be done. He gave his 2 weeks notice. He worked his 2 weeks out. He came home. The next week, everybody was laid off. He'd have been out of work anyways, laid off without notice.
Wow. So, that's like a goosebump thing.
The timing ended up being perfect. I told him, fine, God's on your side.
Wow. So
I had a peace about it after that.
So God was looking after you. That's all you can say about that.
Yeah, and it just made it so much easier to feel like we were planning it, to feel like we were in control, and then realize afterwards, oh, it was totally out of our control.
Yes, and it often always is. So we must have been a little bit of a freak out time when he quit.
There was some serious, he calls it reintegration, like the military, when someone's been deployed for a long time, because he was gone so much.
Yep.
It was really hard to go from having him gone 5 or 6 days a week to having him home 24/7, and we're working together. That took some adjustment. Yes. We really had to work hard to find our roles within the company, so we weren't constantly butting heads over every little decision.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard. You don't want someone to be the boss and someone else. Like you probably had the most experience at that point.
Well, that was part of the conflict. His area of expertise was warehouse management,
Yep.
order fulfillment, materials management,
Which is
and
handy.
process improvement. So he's coming into this business where I know all the ins and outs of dealing with Amazon. I know everything that needs to be done, but he knows everything. He knows the industry itself, and he knows how to do everything better. And I felt like you can't improve it until you understand it. And
Yes.
he could just see all the things that I was doing inefficiently, and we had to learn to work together.
Yeah. But it's nice still that he had that skill to bring to it.
Yes.
And I think everybody does. I mean, I was talking about prepping the other day, and I said, with my business, I'm the creative person, but my mom and the other, I've got Tracy that works for me. They're so good at getting things done, and they're super busy. And you've got to have different kind of people. Someone who's good at getting clients, someone who's good at the creative side, someone who's good at managing things, someone who's good at just getting the work done. So it might have been good in the end that you had somebody with a different hat on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think part of the reason that we're such a good team is because we're so very different.
Yes.
We
Once you learn to work
complement
together.
each other, strengths and weaknesses both.
Yeah. And he's funny. I'm sure that. And I like that he does a lot of the videos. I know you do a few, or I've seen you both interviewed, but he does a lot of those in the car chats. So I'll give everybody your Facebook page so you can see. Is it Kim and Perry's or Perry and Kim's?
Perry and Kim's FBA Corner is our group. We also have a website, perryandkim.com.
Right. And
I think it's really funny, Heather, that you have me on here because he is so much the people person and he's the face of our business. I'm the computer person.
I am talking to women, and I think it's so interesting I think women are go-getters, and I just really wanted to chat to you. We talked on the phone a couple of weeks ago, and yeah. But you will see Perry if you go onto their Facebook page or onto their website, and you'll see him doing those in-car chats. And just one of my clients put me on to you guys, and we were talking about hazmat. She goes, you got to watch Perry's video on hazmat, and he explains it so well. So, and he's got the boys plastered in hazmat stickers.
He's always got kids with him.
Yeah,
he does not like to be alone. That was so terrible for him to be on that on the road job. He takes 2 or 3 or 4 kids to work with him every day because he doesn't like being alone.
So yeah, that's fun. But there's so much. The people who are on some of these FBA, and this is who I want to interview, is people who are really, like I said, giving back. They're out there. They're just for free. They're just giving information like how to do a hazmat or how to set up your prep spaces. So before we get into prep spaces, though, I did want to talk about so when you sell on Amazon, there's a few different ways you can do it. Some people go shopping and buy stuff, say clearance items, which is retail arbitrage. Some people do that online, which is called online arbitrage. And then a lot of people, as they go, they do private label, which is buying products, sometimes from the USA, sometimes from China, India, and putting your label on it, your own label, and selling it on Amazon. Now, you've told me that you guys are 100% retail arbitrage. That's correct?
Yes, pretty much. There's one very small exception.
Yep.
We have a team of shoppers. They go out, they hit the outlets, the discount stores. They shop for us every day. One of our shoppers likes to do online arbitrage for us.
Oh, cool.
But because of the way our systems are built, our processes are built around retail arbitrage, she checks in the items and brings them to us as if she had purchased them at retail.
Okay, so they're not just shipped to your store.
Yeah.
They're not just shipped to your prep center. She brings them in the door.
Right. Well, actually, we have them shipped to the center now, but the boxes just sit in a corner and wait for her. She comes in, builds her buy list, and puts them on the rack for us with everything else. She makes sure that she received what she ordered and handles exchanges and returns. So she handles all the bumps that come along with online arbitrage.
Yep. Good. So many people think that, and you hear this all the time, that retail arbitrage was only really worthwhile doing a few years ago, that there's so many sellers now. but yet you guys are doing this in a huge way. So what about retail arbitrage is makes you stick with it, is worthwhile, and has helped you build such a huge business?
There's several answers to that.
Yeah, sorry, that was a lot of questions.
There's a lot to unpack there. I feel like a lot of sellers start out with RA, like you said, and then they move on. And in a sense, maybe we haven't quite grown up yet as sellers. We got really good at something, and it's hard to switch gears and change your business model and go from something that you're really good at and be a newbie, be a beginner again in a different arena, a different business model. So a lot of people think that RA doesn't scale well. When we figured out how to scale it, we really lost our motivation to shift our process, our business model, because we did scale it. We do scale it. And most other models, business models, have a lower profit margin too, lower ROI.
Yeah, they do.
So again, that's hard to turn away from when it's really working. And we still want to dabble in, we want to dabble in wholesale. We've done a little bit of it. We keep telling ourselves, we got to do more. We got to do more. But again, it's really hard to shift your energy and your focus from what's working to something new.
And I think that word focus is what's made you successful. Because even I'm a bit like, I'm going to try this. Okay, I'm going to learn wholesale. I'm going to learn this, and that's kind of how my mind works too. But I think a lot of people, they keep watching online videos, and they just see the next big thing, the next. With online arbitrage, there's so many tools you can buy now. Just my computer's full of them, so many add-ons, and
We've been subscribed to TA, tactical arbitrage, almost since the beginning, and we hardly ever use it.
Yeah,
but we're in at such a sweet price, I don't want to give it up.
Oh yeah, yeah. So there's all these things. It's a totally different game because you've got to learn how to do it all online. So how do you scale retail arbitrage? You mentioned shoppers. Is that how you do it?
Yeah, well, I think for one thing, we have a good opportunity here. We're in a really big city. We're in San Antonio, which a lot of people don't realize when they visit. It's the 7th biggest city in the country. This is a huge city population-wise.
Yeah, so you have more than one Ross.
Oh, we have so many. Ross's, TJ Maxx's, Marshall's, Burlington's, outlet malls. Outlet malls are 45 minutes away, and it's a world destination, the outlet mall is.
Wow.
We have a lot of, because we're 2 hours from the border, we have a lot of bulk buyers come up from Mexico, and they're not shopping. They're not targeting the same items that we are, but they're helping the inventory to turn over. They're helping the stores to be prepared for big buyers. So in that sense, it's a really good situation for us too. So we just have a lot of opportunity here, and we were able to build up a good team. And part of that is family. Several of our shoppers are our grown children, not all of them, but some of them. So we were able to build up a team around us where we could have a really good working relationship.
Yes.
I think we've got a good balance of flexibility and commitment and trust, but we've also worked to build systems that don't rely on trust so that we can keep expanding and scaling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's a good, and this could be something that I'm going to do a course on later, starting a prep center in your own home so you can make money to sell things on Amazon. But I also think that people could think about sourcing for other people. If you're a good shopper, I think there's a demand out there for sourcers. So once you know what to do and how to do retail arbitrage, if you do live in a city that has a lot of Rosses or TJ Maxx or there's some opportunity, you may want to, I don't think it'd be that hard to find people who also want to scale retail arbitrage, especially people who are ungated in Nike, like you guys would be ungated in some of the bigger brands, Under Armour, Nike, that not everyone can sell right away. And that actually helps profits too, when you can sell brands such as that, like shoe brands, etc.
Yeah, and the prep center has built our profits, as you said. It helps keep our it let us expand into a warehouse, and it lets us keep a full-time crew running. So even when our sales are up and down, and even if the worst happened, if we got shut down, we still have inventory coming through for other sellers that will keep the machine moving. It'll keep income. It'll keep people's paychecks going. And we did exactly as you said. A couple of our shoppers also shop for other sellers. And so that's a side job for them. We're unconnected to that, but we provide the prep service. They drop the stuff off at our facility. And so we prep it for them.
So you've got your own prep center. So that's another stream of income where you're mostly doing your own things, right? But you've taken on some of other people's items
I think the third party is now more than 50% of our own stuff. So our own stuff makes up 2/3, and third party is 1/3, but growing.
Okay, yeah, because it's in demand, and that's why I think I'm calling it the new Amazon FBA gold mine, because I think if you can get out there and provide services, if you're willing to work hard, you can actually provide some good service for people who are selling on Amazon that want to outsource. You know, everybody wants to outsource now, and that helped you scale at the end of the day, didn't it, outsourcing?
Yes, and it lets you do it without losing your focus, because it's still all about the same processes. It hasn't really changed our business, hasn't changed the way that our business looks by bolting on that service for other sellers.
Oh, and you were doing it anyway. You already have, if you're doing this for yourself, you already have the skills to expand your repertoire and make money in different ways. So if you already know how to source, you already know how to prep, you can put yourself out there and earn more money, or earn money to be putting into your Amazon business and scale faster.
Mm-hmm. And we know several other people that are doing the same thing too.
Yeah, I think personally, I think it's brilliant. We got so busy with prepping that we kind of fell off selling, but we're, sometimes we just focused on the prep center aspect when we moved here, because that took off so quickly. So it was interesting.
There's a real need for it.
Yeah, and being in Oregon, because we're tax-free, sales tax-free, we found the demand, and we were doing it from Australia, my sister and I. So we also initially had a lot of Australians that used us to do what we were doing, which was selling from overseas. But now we have clients from the USA and Canada and other places like that. So don't think that this is just a domestic need. There are people selling on Amazon FBA from all over the world. So doing most.
I've got somebody that's inquiring with us right now. He wants to send us his OA though, and we're not set up for that just yet.
Yeah. So you have recently, because you're doing RA, one of the issues that comes up with Amazon, and you've told me before it will come up eventually, is you can get an inauthentic claim. Can you tell us what an inauthentic claim is, and particularly how that pertains to retail arbitrage as well?
Okay, so an inauthentic complaint, it's a little bit of a catch-all with Amazon, but basically it means that the authenticity, the realness of your product has been called into question. So usually they happen when a customer leaves a comment, either a seller feedback, a comment on their return, a product review. Somewhere they're saying that this is fake, or it might be a knockoff, or I'm not sure it's real, because they were dissatisfied for some reason. They were suspicious, and I don't know if this has been confirmed, but I strongly feel that Amazon just catches these automatically. They watch for trigger words, and it will trigger an authentic complaint against your account. So you'll get the red flag, the performance notification, and an email. And sometimes people don't get those for some reason. Sometimes it slips past, but you should get something saying that there is an inauthentic complaint.
Yes.
And they will sometimes close the listing, sometimes they won't, but you really, really have to deal with them, because they can put your account in danger.
So it's serious.
Yes, and it's more common with the big name brands. Like we do a lot of Nike, Adidas, Ralph Lauren, Echo, all the well-known brands that are commonly counterfeited. When people get something that doesn't, my Alexa, I'm sorry, be quiet. I set her to answer to Echo because it's an Echo Dot. So the big name brands that are often counterfeited, when customers get something that doesn't look quite right, strikes them as off, then because of bad media against Amazon, a lot of times their first suspicion is, oh, this could be fake.
Right. So you've developed a course, right? Is it a course? Is it how's it structured?
It's a course. It's an online course, and it consists mainly of about a dozen videos, short videos, and some templates, samples, and just very specific instructions on gathering all the information that you need and putting it together in the way that Amazon is looking for, because they're not real specific about what they want and what you need to do. And we get enough of these that I feel like I have a very good process in place, a very clear process. We almost always get them cleared on the first try. And also, one thing that people don't know is when you respond to Amazon, a lot of times they'll give you just a generic response that says, "We've noted your account. Thank you for attempting to comply." And that's meaningless. So in my course, I talk about what kind of response you need and how to get it.
Right. Okay. And then this is about keeping receipts and how to, you're going to cover that, right? How to record keep, so that you can easily, not like me, as where's my stuff, that you can manage those receipts in a way that you can find something quickly.
Yes.
Cover that.
We're all about systems. So I have a module on getting good systems in place, because it doesn't have to be stressful if you know exactly what you need to tell them and exactly where to find the information.
Okay, great. Because I think everybody needs that, honestly, because it is so stressful. I've had clients go through it. We've gone through it. It was a while ago, but we don't sell a lot of. I was doing bundles for a long time, so they didn't really come up for that kind of claim. But it just sometimes it's just out of nowhere. Like people will just write a nasty comment for no reason, or maybe they think they're going to get their money back faster or something. I don't know why they would just say these Nikes aren't real, or I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I honestly think it comes back to bad media, because there is a counterfeit problem, and it's so much in the forefront of everyone's minds that it makes sense that they go there when they don't like what they got.
Yeah,
it really does.
And Amazon is about protecting Amazon. So you may be a stellar seller. There you go. There's a stellar seller. But what they need to do is they need to protect Amazon, and this is how they do it. They're going to say, hey, you need to prove that that these are authentic. But can you do, so this is another question. So it's okay to buy Nikes from somewhere besides Nike. You can go to some place like, where would you get them? Kohl's, okay?
Yes.
Buy Nikes and resell them. That's okay to do?
Absolutely. Retail receipts are not a problem, as long as you're not buying off the back of somebody's truck or buying from Goodwill or liquidation where it's not manifested. One really important thing is to have good specific receipts or a clear way to tie the item to the receipt. So one example is we shop a lot from TJ Maxx and Marshalls. And when you buy a pair of men's Nikes there, it won't say men's Nikes on the receipt. What it says is something like men FTW for footwear. And then it's got an item number. But if you look, that item number corresponds to the item number that's shown on the store tag, on the retail tag. So what we do when we shop from those stores is take pictures of the items. We'll take a picture of the piece of clothing with the store tag showing and the manufacturer tag. So you can see the UPC, you can see exactly what the item is, and then you can see the little store item, I guess it's the SKU, the store SKU. And then with that store SKU, we can link it to the line item on the receipt, even if the name of the item isn't shown on the receipt. So you got to watch where you're sourcing from and make sure that your receipts are specific enough that when you give Amazon that receipt, they'll know what you bought.
It doesn't just say FTW. Yeah, and it just happens, you see it in forums all the time, people getting shut down for things like this. So
and they think that you can't buy retail. But it's not that Amazon requires invoices. It's that Amazon requires clear, careful documentation. And you can do that with retail.
Okay. All right. So you gave us a couple of tips there, taking photos. You also said you shop at TJ Maxx and Marshalls. Do you use a particular, do you scan with an app? Do you have a favorite app that you use?
Because we do clothes and shoes, because there's a lot of variations, and maybe some people don't know, but when you look at the bestseller rank, the BSR, that is an aggregate of everything on that listing. So if there's just one item, then it tells you roughly how often it sells. It tells you the last time it sold. But if you're looking at shoes where there might be 12 colors and 40 sizes, there might literally be 400 or more different variations on that one listing, the
Mm-hmm.
rank there is an aggregate of all those sales. So you don't know how often each one of them sells. Because we deal heavily in variations, we use Scan Power Mobile to do our scanning. Because to my knowledge, that is the only one that tells you the number of variations on a listing, the total number, and then the number of active variations or in-stock variations.
Okay.
And
But it
that's
won't.
really important to be able to interpret the seller rank, the bestseller rank.
Okay. But it won't. You still. Is there something that will give you the individual seller rank, or is it still
Amazon doesn't provide that. No.
no?
So you just have to gain a knowledge of the more common sizes and weigh it out against the
Mm-hmm.
competition. We actually kind of like the outliers. We like the really big shoes, for example,
Mm-hmm.
because most sellers will steer away from them. So instead of having 9 sellers on the listing, we could be the only one selling the size 16
Yeah.
shoe.
Yeah.
And that actually won't
Why
take too
not?
long to
If
sell a
people
lot
need
of
it, they're
time.
going to go to Amazon to get it, aren't they?
Right,
Because
because
they're
they
not going to
can't
be able
find
to.
it in the store.
Yeah. I think that's great. With bras too, we used to get like the big size of bras, and they
Hmm.
always sold. Um,
Right.
yeah.
And bras are another one where there can be hundreds of variations under one listing. So the
Mm-hmm.
rank is almost meaningless unless you know how many variations there are.
Yeah.
Oh, and
How,
Scan Power also gives you the Keepa graph, which is amazing because then you know that you're not just catching an item on a temporary spike. Maybe it sold 2 days ago, but that was the first time in 4 months.
yeah.
So the rank doesn't look too bad right now, but Keepa will show you that. It'll let you interpret that too.
So if you're new to selling on Amazon, there's a few different apps. Some are free, like the Amazon Seller app, and then there's a few that just like Scam Power and Scoutify that cost money, but are really worthwhile. So if you're going into the store, and the funny thing is Walmart. People go, oh, I feel funny scanning in a store, but even Walmart has their own scanning app now. So nobody ever pays any attention anymore. I don't know if it used to stand out, but
Right.
you find that and no one ever really pays any attention to what you're doing in the store these days.
Very rarely. And if they do, they're almost never hostile. They're curious. They want to know,
Yeah,
what are you doing there? And you explain it to them and
yeah,
they say, oh, that's really cool. And then they walk away.
yeah, yeah.
You don't have confrontations, and people are not, as a general rule, they're not entrepreneurial enough to jump on something that they saw a random stranger doing in a store. So you're not going to
No,
create competition by showing them
it's
what you're
funny,
doing.
isn't it? It's so
Yeah,
funny.
there's really no
You could
downside.
probably spend an hour telling somebody all about what you're doing, and they'll just go, okay, and never.
Right. Yes.
Anyway,
That's part of the reason we share information so freely, because number one, I know that we're not going to create an overwhelming amount of competition for ourselves because most people won't use it. But if they do, the people who use it, that's incredible. There are people who take it and run with it are the outliers, and I would love to help them.
yeah, and I mean,
That's a special person to begin with.
it's unlikely I'm going to be in San Antonio anytime soon, racing down the aisles, competing with you. I mean, you've got people who you probably have very few that are actually in the exact same town as you. That with retail arbitrage, it's all about what you can find in your city, in your town, in your stores to sell on Amazon. So
Yeah. And, I kind of sold it hard saying that we're in a special place with a lot of opportunity.
mhm,
I have talked to so many sellers who they can turn anything into a special opportunity. There's people who live out in the middle of nowhere and they do amazing things because there's no competition where they are.
yeah,
They can hit every Walmart within 3 hours and they
yeah.
get all the good stuff because it's out in the middle of nowhere and no one else wants to do that. You
I
can
know
take
there's not
any
many
situation
sellers here in Central
and turn it
Oregon.
into something special.
The funny thing about being here is I don't think there's many sellers, but I can go to Ross and pick through stuff, and I'm sure I go there 2 weeks later and they haven't restocked very well. So I think being in a smaller town, you have to get out a little bit. If you get the opportunity to do a trip to the big city every now and again, you can probably spend 5 to 10,000 just in a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
If you can only do 5 to 600 a week in your own town. So that's what I would say. Just from my own experience, we only have one Ross, one TJ Maxx, one Kohl's, so, and they seem to kind of, when I pick through them, it can be a couple months before I, get a good haul again.
Yeah. Yeah. Ours turns over fast where we are because of
Yeah,
the big
that really
population
makes
and the
sense.
bulk buyers and
Just amazing. Um, just, just, this is is what I like. I've been living in Australia, and this is one thing I like about being in America is all the bargains. Sometimes it's hard not to spend your profits while you're there. Do you ever want to pick up a T-shirt for the kids, or oh look, there's
Oh, all of us.
$5. You got to be careful of that.
Especially if you have that TJX card and you get the credits on all your purchases.
Oh yeah.
Our kids are clothed with that stuff. Our kids pride themselves on being very independent. They would never ask us for money or handouts, but they ask for those certificates.
Yes. Or
somehow those are different.
All these things, and there's ways to make money online with Ebates, and there's so many ways to get those little extra benefits. Walgreens has a good program, like I said, Kohl's Cash, but yeah.
Burlington just started, and Carter's, they all have nice rewards programs.
Mm-hmm. Hello, I see one.
This is Calvin.
What number is he?
Oh, number 11.
11.
I had to think about that.
You probably don't just number them off, but
well, we used to do a sound off every time we left somewhere. We left kids behind too often, so we started sounding off. We'd get in the van and yell sound off, and then they would call out their numbers all the way down the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Where's Becca?
Well, there you go. That's why you guys are so good at managing everything. So now, just finally, I wanted to talk about prep center management, because we were talking before about systems, and obviously probably with your family you've had to put in systems. Sounds like Perry's very systematic. Is there any particular tip if someone's at home and they're prepping and their house just looks like just full of boxes? Is there anything you could give us, any hot tip on prepping from home, or just organizing all those? So organizing the stuff that comes in, flowing through the whole way through till it gets to a box.
Okay, so since you put it that way, one of our big principles is don't batch. Get as close to single piece flow as possible. So don't go shop for 4 days and fill up your whole space so you're tripping over bags and you have no room to work. And then you've got 4 days of prep work in front of you before you can get out of the hole again. So for 8 days, you've got all this capital tied up that's not actually at Amazon selling for you. It's just tied up waiting on you. Mm-hmm. It's discouraging and demoralizing, and it really
probably sits there for another 8 days.
Right. You'll put it off because it's too much. You don't want to tackle it. And then it just slows you down. It really, really makes you work slower. It's much better to do it in small batches, as often as you can, break and ship and get it out the door. Because if you're not tripping over the stuff, moving it around, sorting it, resorting it, trying to pile it up higher so it doesn't fall on you, you just waste so much time trying to handle big amounts. It really streamlines your process if you bring it through as small as possible. So even if it means hitting one store, come home, prep it, and get it in the boxes. But what we used to do when we were first starting was we would shop for 1 day and then ship. We would not let ourselves go back out shopping until we had shipped all that. So we would ship the next day. Shop a day, ship a day. And if we got done early with our shipping, we get to go shopping that evening.
Yeah.
And then
I need to learn that one, because I love to shop and I'll just leave things there.
Everybody loves to shop. That's the fun part.
Yeah.
Shop and eat your vegetables too, though.
Even when I'm shopping for other people, I just would rather just do that all day. But yeah, I know.
You feel like you're making the money when you shop, but you're not. You're making the money when it sells. So you got to get it in there for sale as soon as possible. So as we got better at it, we would ship the same day a lot of times. We would shop for the first part of the day and then spend the second part shipping. Just the sooner you can get it out, the better. And it really makes it easier and faster. It's better psychologically. It's better on the clock. It'll take you less time to prep each item if you're not shoveling through just to find a place to work.
Yeah. I think this is a discipline. So I'm glad you said this, because I think this is where it is a discipline, because prepping is not fun.
It's not.
And you're less likely, I know you started your own, and maybe this is why. If you're doing online arbitrage, it's really easy to send it to a prep center. But if you're doing retail arbitrage, unless you have one in your town that you know of, that you can go and drop your stuff off, people who do retail arbitrage are more likely to do their own prep, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Online, you can just have it shipped. You could have it shipped to us. You can have it shipped anywhere in the country to get it prepped. You never have to lay your hands on it. But when you're out there getting the bargains, you're going to take it. You're going to take it home, and it's going to sit on your floor until you deal with it.
Yeah. And another advantage to getting it out in small batches is that you can grow to a much bigger size. You can scale better without having to pay for a bigger facility, a warehouse, an office. You can do it out of a smaller space if you're not making the piles as big.
Yep.
Our
Yep.
girls went to Oregon for 3 months last year, and they shopped and shipped out of a bedroom, a small bedroom. They made a full-time income working for us on the road, because they did it a batch at a time.
Yep.
They would go fill up their car, come home and ship it out. Go fill up the car, come home and ship it out. And
Yep.
they didn't need any space to do it.
Yep. Well, my mom, when we were in Australia, we had everything shipped to her, and she would also shop for us. So she was the real inspiration for our business when we moved over here to do what Mom does for us. But she was in a small caravan. What do they call them? Trailers here. She lived in a trailer home for a little while, like the RV, the kind you drive around.
Uh-huh.
She said that the only way she could go to bed at night, because all of our stuff was all over her bed, was to ship it out. So yeah, you could do it out of any space. She wasn't always too happy about it.
That'll keep you disciplined, won't it?
But if you can't use your bed, lay it all on your bed. Yeah. Oh, this is so good. That's the best tip, I reckon, of the day. That just get it out. Just keep going. I actually know somebody who said that if they have something over the weekend, they'll try and merch fulfill stuff to even sell stuff before they can even get it in. Have you ever tried that tip? Have you ever tried that?
No, we haven't. We've never gotten organized enough for that. Never made it a part of our process.
Yeah, I think that has to be part of your process. Merch fulfill is when you can actually set it up to fulfill it from your house direct to a customer. So it does take more time, though, I think, to prep and ship individual products. But that's been pretty keen, is when you can put it up for sale before you can even get it out the door, to Amazon.
But again, that's one of the problems that FBA solved for us, is having to fulfill individual orders.
Yeah, so you're like, we're not doing that anymore.
Well, except Posh, but I haven't decided if we're going to stick with that one.
Yeah. So I'll just quickly mention that you've done a bit of a Poshmark experiment where you've taken some of your unfulfillable means stuff that you could no longer sell on Amazon, or perhaps was returned to you, and you're selling it on Poshmark.
Yes. Just because we had tried other avenues of liquidation, and we were getting maybe 30 cents on the dollar for the items that sold, maybe less than that even. And on Posh, we're pretty close to recovering our COGS, our cost of goods. But it's a lot of work. You have to create each individual listing, and then you have to fulfill each individual order. And with all the added labor we're putting into it, I'm not really clear on whether it's a net gain over that 30% that we were getting before, when it was all hands off.
Yeah.
So we're still in the testing phase.
What was the hands-off method? Just curious.
There was a liquidator who ran a business called Go Gambit. And I don't know if he might not be taking clients right now, but we were able to just have our removal orders sent directly to him, and he would auction them for us and send us.
Okay, so like an online auction would be another option.
And there's been a couple others too. We have a friend named Dee Dee Johnson who runs a business called Sailing Sisters down in Houston, and she does something similar, but she'll sell them for sellers on Posh, eBay, and in a retail store that she has. But again, you just send all your stuff to her and she takes care of it. But there's such a need for this that I think both Dee Dee and Go Gambit have stopped taking new clients.
Wow. So there you go.
There's a hole in the market right there.
Yeah, dealing with people's unfulfillable items. We got so many here, and it's because it's not something we do a lot of. It's just always just sit on the shelf,
Right. People call it the death pile. You have a pile of stuff that you don't know what to do with. It's too good to just throw away, but what are you going to do with it?
So we've donated so many items, but I think they're sick of us even donating things. I actually don't want any more stuff. Yeah, especially we get private label people that if a product doesn't sell, sometimes we have 1,000 of something. So yeah. But hey, it's all stuff.
Yeah, we donate a lot too.
Yeah,
we're still trying to find a good balance between what to give away and what to try to recover some money from.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. This has been really just, I hope you enjoyed it too. So nice
I
to chat
did.
to you. And now you can be the face of Perry and Kim.
I still think we need to put together a group for prep centers too. There's a lot of people doing this, and it would be good to share
Yeah.
tips and techniques because it's such
Yeah.
a wide open market.
And you guys offer a course that helps people with their prepping. But I'll put the link to your website, and I think that's on there.
Mhm.
You help people with streamlining, and I'm going to get down there sometime and do that one as well.
And we
But we
have one
just,
coming up in a couple of weeks and then another in September. We've
yeah,
been doing them once a month.
yes. So that's 2 full days with you guys, isn't it?
It is 2 full days in our warehouse, just totally open book.
Yeah.
We do one day of class time and then one day of very hands-on, one-on-one. They go shopping with our shoppers if they want to. They work our line. They see how we handle returns. Just everything, anything they want to know about our business.
Yeah. That
It's
is
a lot of
such,
fun.
that is just amazing. So I think follow these guys, see what they're doing, and allow, there's so many more mentors. And I think too, when I first started, it was all men talking about this, which is why I'm trying to get more women onto the show, just talk to women about what they're doing. And it's just, for me, it's so interesting. So thank you.
Are you in the Ladies of FBA group?
Yes. Yes.
That's just
Yeah.
exploding. I
I
can't believe
know.
how
I
fast
know.
it's
And I think
grown.
that was actually Jess. Do you know Jess Hill?
I haven't met her, but I know her name. Yes.
Yeah, she runs that group, and it was actually her, I think, that said about doing the merch fulfill, because she's on her way to $1 million. So there's all these women who are really taking it on and doing amazing things, and then they hire their husbands. That's what she said.
My husband calls himself employee number 7 because I
Yeah.
hired my brother-in-law and 5 of the kids before him.
Well, there you go. So and find out what you're good at within the Amazon. Once you learn more about Amazon, find out what you're good at. Follow these people, and I think anybody can do this. Honestly, I think that's what people love about America is opportunity. But also, anyone can do it from anywhere. Just find the right people that can help you, even if you're overseas. And so many people are willing to just talk to you and give you great information. So I appreciate you talking to me today. Thank you so much,
Thank you
Kim.
for inviting me. This was really fun, Heather.
Yeah, yeah. All right. All right. I'll talk to you later. Thanks.